What is VPS hosting? VPS stands for Virtual Private Server. A VPS is a sealed space on a server that has the characteristics of an entire server itself. Virtual server hosting has its own operating system, OS, applications, resources, and configurations. All of this is contained in one powerful server. Each server can have multiple VPS accounts on it. VPS hosting, how it works. Virtualization technology is the means by which a service is divided into multiple virtual servers. Even if a dedicated server is shared between several virtual servers, the latter has these own resources. Therefore, you won't have to share your processor, RAM, and any other data. Who uses VPS hosting? VPS hosting allows more control over the environment compared to shared hosting. Even if we don't need all the system resources that are allocated to us by a VPS and by a shared environment, the increased control compensates for the additional cost. For people wishing to have dedicated hosting, but who do not have the necessary technological knowledge, VPS hosting is a good place to start. This allows account holders to try it out and increase their skills without committing to overspending. Why use a private server? VPS hosting is a great choice for users who need more than one shared server but aren't quite ready for a dedicated server. Since this is a virtual server, you are not bound by the limits of a single physical server. Also, since this is a private server environment, you will not be sharing server resources with other users. So you will be sharing real physical servers, but with the virtualization technology used, there will be no overlap in the use of the servers. Shared hosting versus VPS. Shared hosting involves sharing the same physical server with other websites. It is the most basic form of accommodation. It distributes a web server for the operation of several sites. Thus, the latter uses the same bandwidth, storage, etc. Shared hosting is easy to manage and requires little maintenance. However, resources can become scarce and performance is limited. In contrast, VPS hosting offers more customization, better performance, and offers many possibilities. You will also have more storage space and more resources. Dedicated hosting versus VPS. Dedicated hosting gives you the opportunity to take full advantage of the physical server resources. It is made available to you and you will be the only user. This will allow you to have full and complete control over all services. However, the cost of dedicated hosting is quite high. Choosing a VPS hosting allows you to take advantage of all the features of the dedicated server. This virtual server can be restarted independently and has its own operating system. What are the advantages of VPS? The VPS has several advantages over traditional web hosting services. One of the main advantages is the ability to access the full operating system of the virtual private server. Root and administrator permissions are unrestricted. Thus, each user can configure their virtual private server according to their own preferences and needs. The user can also opt for additional services such as an FTP site, an email server, or specialized applications for e-commerce or blogging, for example. Another advantage is that VPS allows the user to host multiple websites. There are therefore many advantages. What are the disadvantages? Typically, VPS hosting is for small businesses that want the flexibility of a dedicated server, but cannot afford to invest in such a device. Unfortunately, it has several weaknesses compared to a true dedicated server. First of all, the performance does not reach that of a real dedicated server. Virtual dedicated server vendors tend to limit server performance to maximize the number of units that a physical server can support. Even when there is no performance issue, an adjacent virtual dedicated server may consume too many resources and reduce performance. The power of a dedicated server remains higher. A further disadvantage of the VPS to consider for safety. They are generally based on server virtualization, which allows them to be isolated from each other. However, zero risk does not exist, and it is better to avoid shared environments. Conclusion. So it's obvious that VPS hosting is well suited for websites looking to improve on the SEO ladder. VPS hosting is one of the cost-effective hosting solutions that mimics a dedicated server without breaking the bank. You can also opt for SSD-based VPS hosting, which guarantees better speed and efficiency for your website. Carefully assess the needs of your website and choose the right VPS hosting plan that meets all your specific requirements and helps your website climb the SERP rankings.